I have the recording started, so let's go to it. First thing on the agenda is news from LibLime. And in the news from LibLime, basically the biggest news is that on August 1st, all of the documentation was updated. All the documentation that needed to be updated was done. And in the release notes, actually in all of the documentation, I believe it's this way, you can search through the documents looking for the 5.19.20 entries, and that will show you what the new things are that are being documented anyway. I do have the release notes up here, and I'm going to just very quickly go through what is in here. The new feature about the carousel has been upgraded again, and it's basically, I think the last sentence, that you'll need to size your default image so that it can coexist with the text block if you use the carousel. The feature that had been started about linking to Facebook, Google accounts, other social logins has been disabled with the system default. So this is not going to be something that will display to your patrons even if they log on. This has been delayed for a while. Once the public libraries saw this, they let LibLime know that they did not want that there in any way, shape, or form. So we'll see what happens with that one. Okay, the next one here is a little bit longer, but this deals with the automatic log off that you can configure in the system. You can read through this and look at the actual feature in your sandboxes. So if you are interested in enforcing inactivity timeout, so if you have public workstations and somebody conducts a search and finds what they're looking for and they leave without ending or logging off, there is an inactivity timeout that you can set for both the staff and the patrons, so each can have different timeouts. But that has been updated in the documentation, so you can look at that. Okay, if you haven't looked at it yet in your sandbox, the My Account display looks very different than what it did before. I think that you'll like it. There's also some ways that have been added into the documentation about hiding elements that appear on the patron dashboard. So that's something, if I remember, when we go over to the Waldo sandbox, I'll try to remember to show that to you. Okay. Okay, there's a new setting, and I haven't really looked at this one very carefully, but there are a couple of settings that will allow you to identify whether or not to display items by holdings records, or always, group items by holdings record and always display location, control the display, the home branch, and the holdings groupings. A third option allows you to show a button for users to toggle between the two. I think that this is probably something that the sites that are using the MFHDs would be interested in looking into. For single libraries, my guess is that this isn't going to matter one way or another to you, because you probably only have one branch. So that's something that you need to look at as well. And then we get to some things that are called enhancements here, which they are, but these are the 4 features that we sponsored and asked to have done. So you can see that there are 4 new items all here right in a row, which corresponds to the 4 enhancement requests that we had ordered. And those are now available in the sandbox, and in just a little bit I'll show them to you so that you know what to look for. So I'm going to skip through these quickly. And I believe that that's, and then we get into some of the fixes. There are several fixes. They're all at the bottom of the documentation, are at the bottom of the release note, so you'll be able to easily find those. Okay, so you can do the same in each of the documents, the user manual, the discovery layer customization, and super librarian training guide. They've all had some significant changes over the last year or so. So as you look at the software in your sandbox, I would recommend for the new pieces at least that you look at the documentation as well. Okay, and the new Waldo development features. I did leave the descriptions of the enhancements on the lower part of the page here so that you have all of the information that we had sent along to LaBlime when we ordered the information. But the first thing that I'm going to show you is the setting a specific time for your course reserves. Or actually, you can use this for anything, but it's intended primarily for course reserves. Okay, I'm going to first go to a record that is on reserve. This one is available, so just so I can show you this, I'm going to copy the barcode, and then I'm going to check this item out to myself. Okay. If it will let me check out. Okay, so I have my barcode in the space for the barcode. I could click check out here and it would check it out to me for 2 hours, which is what this course is set as in its circulation policy. You can also identify a specific due date. So if you wanted to identify tomorrow for this item to be returned, you could either key in the date or you could select it from the calendar, and I'll select it from the calendar. And you'll notice that there is another box following the calendar. And this box is where you would set the time of day in a 2400 hour display. So I'm going to tell this one that I want it to be back at noon. I think I need the colon in there, hold on. And if I want to remember this for more items that this person is going to check out, I could, of course, click on the box. However, I'm just going to leave it set this way that my special due date is going to be tomorrow at noon. So when I check this out, it tells me that it's checked out at 1:40 p.m. and that it's due back tomorrow at 12 p.m., which is what we had, which is what I had entered in there. As you can see, it's not renewable since it's a course reserve. The policy was set up to not renew these. So you can see that that's working. This is available right now in your sandbox. If you enter these states, remember to click the clear when you're done with this. But I would suggest that that sites that will be using this feature do some testing. I've done some testing, but I wouldn't call it exhaustive. So I would suggest that for some of your reserve material that's behind the circulation desk, or however you have it, that you go in and actually create some specific checkout times to make sure it's working out fine. It does show up fine in this display. Since I'm logged on, I'll see my borrowing summary that comes up right away, my library dashboard. And this is what I was talking about before. I have 2 items that are checked out. It tells me one is due this week, one is overdue, and that notification is in red. You'll notice that the borrowing information, the checked out, holds, and fees show up in a separate panel on this page. It gives us some recent activity of what has been done during this specific year. I haven't been very active this year. And then all of my settings for my other personal account information is here. So if there's anything that I want to change, I can certainly change, or I can certainly look at these. And then if there's something that I want to have changed, for example, when I clicked on my batch jobs, it showed me all of the batch jobs that I had run. I can do some management of this from the dashboard itself, and I can then go back to my dashboard following the breadcrumbs. Okay, let me go back over here. Okay, so any questions about the setting the due time for our loans? Okay, let me go back over here.
Hi, Becky.
Yes.
I think Tracy mentioned it in the chat, but it'd be really great if we could get a label on the box that specifies what the due date time would be.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't do that, but I'll send that back as information. Jane wanted me to say, yeah, it's working the way it's supposed to be, but I told her that we needed to have more people look at it first. So I will definitely do that.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me go back over to my account. Actually, I will just, yeah, let me go back to search for my, Sorry about this. It's not responding or not letting me do something here. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. What I need to find out is an item number. Okay. Okay, it appears that there is something that is preventing me from doing a patron search. As soon as I start typing, this little indicator shows up. And when I click on the search, it doesn't search. This I will have to report as a problem. Let me just search in the catalog. Well, let me move on to the next one. The next one in the list is displayed the Mark 506 field. And I did make sure that I had some records that had some 506 fields. I wonder if the system went down. It's definitely not responding to any of my commands. Okay. Okay, it's either very, very slow right now or down. Let me check and see. No, my internet connection is still okay. So let me go back over here. If you search in the Waldo Sandbox for art history, I'll try again in a couple of minutes here to see if we can get it back again. But I just wanted to let you know that if you have a 506 field in your bibliographic record, it will display. There is a label that says restrictions. It has something, That's what I wanted to say because I can never remember what it said, but there is a label that indicates that there are restrictions to the material that's represented by this particular record. It shows up on the detailed record. I looked for it on the results list, but I didn't see it there. So I'd like to get some feedback from you on whether or not the 506 field is only needed on the full record, or if it's something that should also be in the results list. And the next one is the handle the 404 or 403 HTTP client errors. This is something that has been added into the discovery layer. And it's towards the top. You'll notice right here we have a 403 not authorized error and a 404 not found error. And the information that you would put in the box, depending on which error message you want to have answered, whether it's the 403 or the 404, it needs to be added in with valid HTML. I actually just did a copy and paste from the enhancement request and put the wording in here. And let me go back here. Let me just get out of this altogether. And you'll notice that there's a link that I put here. That's just a way to make sure that you get a response back with the information. This is how it appears when it is working correctly. And since I'm signed in right now to the staff side of it, that's how the staff side shows. If you're in the public catalog, this is how it shows. So this is just an indication of where it's going to display, and you can put in here whatever you want. If you want to put in a picture of a kitten or a puppy or whatever, like Amazon does, you can certainly do that, but you just need to make sure it's in valid HTML. If you need any assistance on setting it up, certainly LibLime can help. So you can enter a support center ticket, or you can send out something on the Waldo support mailing list. And I'm sure that if you need help, somebody will be out there to help you. Let me go back to my agenda. Let me see if I can do art history now. Okay, so this goes back to the question I was asking as to where you wanted the note to, the restriction note to appear. You'll notice that in all of these records, any with items definitely would not have that identified. Let me check this particular record. Okay, and this one does not have it. I'm going to switch over to the discovery layer view so that I can show you what you would see in the public catalog. And I'm just going to page through a few of these. I know that I put the note in some records, but I don't I try hard not to remember. But here you can see the note right here, restrictions on access note, and then whatever appears in the 506 field, subfield A, will be described here. So this, again, I just added in a phrase into the record itself. If there's specific restriction information that you need to add in here, it will be in the MARC record, or you can add it into the MARC record and it will display. Again, it shows up. I need your response back as to whether or not this is what you wanted to show up, whether you want it to appear in a different location on the page. Any kind of feedback would be good on this one. I know that it's there now. I know that we can do it. I also would like to know whether or not you want to see it on the results list.
Becky?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we were really just interested in having it display on the staff side, but then our public side we can configure the way that we want, so that wasn't really an issue.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so those are the 4 new ones, and I still haven't been able to show you the checkout one. But if you scan a barcode that you found laying on a table or laying on its side on a shelf, if it is not checked out, it will not require you to pull up the special patron that you have for counting statistics. It will automatically log it to the statistics, and it will in fact show you a note that tells you that it has been added as a browse count. And you'll see the blue highlighted area tells me that it's been logged for the local use statistics. And because we can't display those statistics, you would have to run a report to make sure that they're showing up there. But it does tell you it's been logged. I have no reason to not believe it. And I'm going to cancel that. You also notice that on this one that the notes, it also tells you in a note on this record that it was used for local use. So if you are searching through the statistics table, you should be able to also find all of the entries that have the items logged for local use statistics or whatever. Yeah, it would be that wording that you would use. I think that little flashing arrow would bother me if I saw that for a long time. Okay, the MARC import process that was to allow us to have the delete option. I just checked with Bill earlier today, and he hasn't been able to get to it yet, but it is a problem that he did know about and told me that he had to fix it. So once that's fixed, I will be sure to show you that. Bill is hoping that he can get it done so that the point release that is going to be put out, at least for the LibLime testers next week, would include that fix. And if it works for the testers, then they will put it in our sandboxes so that we can work with it as well. I didn't update the CodeFusion Support Center list. I looked at the that log on to the support center, and there are still a lot of entries in there, I think 106 or something when I checked it yesterday. But it looks like there's not a lot of new things that have been added in, so I figured, you know, until we have, until there's information there that's new or, excuse me, or something specific that you need to be aware of, I'll just leave it as it is right now, and we can revisit that later on if we need to. Production upgrades. Right now, LibLime is ready to install 5.20 is what they're going to be calling the release version at any time. So if you've had an opportunity to do some testing in your sandbox and have been okay with the results that you've seen and are ready to move your production side up to the newest release level, all you need to do is schedule it in the support center. Presently, there are 2 libraries that are using 5.20 in production. I don't specifically know which 2 they are, but I know that there are 2. Patrick also told me that on August 27th, the first of the federal libraries has their their upgrades already scheduled. So they're ready to do upgrades anytime that you're ready to have them done. I haven't talked with Patrick yet about any kind of a deadline or upgrade by date. So if there's something that needs to be upgraded before they can move on to something else, I'll be sure to let you know. But I think at this point, it's just as you are ready, you can update. The thought is that Patrick told me he had about this is that if you want to upgrade sometime in August, that would be good for them. It would be good for you if you could get it done before the semester starts, since there are so many changes and that there are little things that you probably won't notice until someone asks you, now, why does it look like this instead of before? Because I still find that myself as I look through the software. The enhancement list update, I'm just going to leave that on the list. At this point, pretty much everything that we have on the top half of the list has been delivered, but I do need to respond back to LibLime so that they know whether or not these features are what we wanted, and certainly are something that I would appreciate knowing as well. I know John will ask me if everything is working the way it's supposed to, and while I can see that things are working, I might not be able to see if it's working right for you in your situation. So I certainly do want to have your feedback. Okay, the recordings are on YouTube, and in the chart that or the table I have down here, the YouTube links are listed. When I upload today's, it will be added to this list, and if some people at your library were not able to join us today, they can certainly look at this on YouTube. This is the only place where I've been publishing or where I've been adding the addresses. So you might also want to remind other people at your library that if they do want to look at one of the videos that are out there, that they need to come to this page, to the agenda page, so that they can get the links. Okay. The only other thing that I have for today is talking about the LAK fall meeting schedule. It's hard to believe it's already August, and that for many of you, classes will be starting by the end of this month or early in September. So we'll take a short break from having meetings on Thursdays, and I'm suggesting that we can begin the fall meetings on August 30th. That would give us about 3 weeks between. They give us 3 weeks without a meeting. So basically, we'd just be skipping one of our every other week meetings. Is that something that you all think would work for you? Do you think we still need to meet every other week? Should we meet every week? Should we meet once a month? Just what is your preference? Okay, I'm not seeing any messages, so I'm going to assume that everyone's okay with August 30th and that we will keep to every other week, unless there's something that comes up that we need to meet more frequently or on a as-needed basis. Okay, any questions? Anything else that anyone wants to bring up? Oh, there is one more thing I was going to remember to talk about, and that's offline circ. I suspect that you saw the message from Stephen on Tuesday that he said that it would have been nice to have offline circ. So I asked Patrick about it. He said that that they're hoping. He said that 2 weeks ago it was close to being done, but there was some nasty snag that required a lot of troubleshooting, and he doesn't elaborate on that. He said that it's expected to go to the LibLime staff testing late next week, and if it passes their testing, they'll send it out to the sandboxes as a point release after that. So hopefully by the time school starts, offline circ would be something that would be available. But there's no guarantee on that at this point. Until we see the software, we're not going to expect it to be there when school starts, but it's likely. Okay, anything else? Okay, that's all for today then. Have a good August, and we'll be back on the 30th.